Welcome to my channel. Tonight, we dine with kings. Not the conquerors or the cruel, but the weary travelers who seek rest and good food. For in this tale, the king sits not on a throne of war, but at a table laden with the bounty of the land. He is surrounded by his loyal knights, their armor removed, their faces relaxed in the firelight. There is no hurry here. Only the soft clink of silverware and the murmur of conversation. The king raises his cup in a toast, and the servants move through the hall, offering up platters piled high with roasted meats and fresh fruits, sweetmeats and cheeses from every corner of the kingdom. The head chef, a portly man with a kind face, surveys his handiwork with a satisfied smile. For these men have fought hard and long, and they deserve a respite, a moment of peace, a celebration of life, a reminder that even kings weary from their battles can find solace in the simple pleasure of a good meal. And so the feast goes on through the still, dark hours, a silent tribute to the quiet strength of those who serve. Beyond them, through an arched doorway, is the boiling room. Great pots hang over low fires, their contents simmering in patient silence. It is vast, lit with glowing coals and open flame. A boy turns a spit slowly. The crackling sound like distant rain. Fat drips and sizzles, only a slow and steady hum, like bees at work in a golden hive. The aroma of rosemary, sage, and meat fills the room and seems to settle gently into the stone itself. She drops them into a pot with a satisfied nod. Venison stew, almond, custard, jellied fish, a fine white bread shaped like lilies. Another carefully arranges apples and plums on a silver platter. The fruit gleams under the candlelight, as though polished by time itself. Rich broths, sweet almond milk, and pottage bubble with the faintest plop inside. Steam curls around the rafters, leaving behind the smell of onions, garlic, and wine. A pinch too few, and the feast might lose its fire. And in the far corner, beneath a high, vaulted ceiling, stained with centuries of smoke, no chaos. It will be used to dust the top of custards, to sweeten almond pastes, to crystallize petals for the queen's delight. In one corner, a woman gently unwraps bundles of herbs, saffron strands from faraway Spain, deep red, like threads of sunset, cinnamon from eastern groves, curled like sleeping snails, tiny black cloves with the scent of warming earth, nutmeg like polished stones, peppercorns, jet black and sharp. A clerk stands near the wall, reviewing a menu written on thick parchment, his eyes scanning lines of neat script. Nothing is haphazard, nothing is rushed. Every dish has a place, every flavor, its moment. In a small chamber nearby, beneath lock and key, lie the true treasures. Each is measured with care, a pinch to many, and the king might frown. There is also sugar air white, stored like gold, and there is salt, plain. Yes, it will not only season the meal, it will sicken rank. The king will sit above the salt. His guests, tiered accordingly, will find their places set either close or far from that gleaming dish. As the kitchen hums on, the great hall awaits. The table, long and worn, stretches like a river beneath a ceiling of dark wooden beams. Tapestries hang along the walls, scenes of forests, stags, and still lakes. The scent of lavender and meadowsweet drifts lazily through the space. Rushes are scattered across the floor, mixed with dried herbs to keep the air sweet. Each flame flutters into being, small and steady, casting quiet light across polished plates. Candles are being lit, one, by a young boy with a long taper. The servants move like ghosts. They place goblets of silver and pewter. Spoons rest beside trenchers thick rounds of bread used as plates. There are knives, long and slim, some engraved with family crests. There are no forks. Those are a curiosity still. The napkins are folded. The goblets gleam. And still, there is silence. His robe hangs heavy with embroidery. His fingers, washed in rose water, are dried on linen towels as soft as wool. This is not the noise of a feast. The pause before the music begins. The kitchen still simmers. The hall is nearly ready. And somewhere, in the tallest tower, the king is being dressed. We'll begin. The hall is still. ... But not empty. There is a kind of breath held in the air, as if the room itself is waiting. And then, quietly, the doors open. They do not burst or swing. They part like velvet curtains drawn by invisible hands. Through them come the guests, soft-footed, richly dressed, their steps muffled by the rushes beneath their shoes. Some wear fine wool trimmed with fur. Others in satin and velvet, faded indigo, moss green, and pale blue like the edge of dawn. The noblemen bow low as they enter. The ladies nod gently, their veils trailing behind them like mist. Children peep around the edges of their mother's skirts, eyes wide with the wonder of candlelight and chandeliers. No one speaks loudly. Their voices are the hush of leaves, the murmur of brooks. The room fills not with noise, but with presence like rain beginning to fall, drop by drop. Each guest is shown to their place. There is no scrambling, no uncertainty. Is to still be warmed by the feast. For the seating is arranged days in advance according to titles, bloodlines, honors, and debts long owed. His coat of arms gleams on the backrest, illuminated now by dozens of candles placed just so. To sit close to the king is to sit in the glow of the sun, to sit far. The king's chair stands tall at the head of the table, carved from oak and inlaid with small pieces of mother of pearl. But the chair remains empty. For now, servants glide past like shadows, refilling goblets with water scented with orange blossom, placing small dishes of salted nuts and dried fruits along the table's edge. Instead, the hall breathes. You might hear the faint chime of a bell. Not loud, not sudden, just a soft note carried on the air. And then he arrives, the king, not in a parade, not to fanfare. He does not need it. His presence alone draws the eye. He walks slowly in a robe of deep crimson, its sleeves embroidered with tiny lions. His crown is modest tonight, a circlet of gold resting quietly on his brow. He does not smile, but his eyes are kind. As he sits, and as he settles, they follow. The feast has begun. There is no rush, no clatter of plates, or loud declarations, only a soft signal, and then the first course begins to appear. Not served all at once, but one dish at a time, passed from hand to hand, carried by gloved servants whose movements are silent and steady. The first dish is simply it. Inside the broth floats a poached quail egg, and beneath it, shreds of tender chicken that have been slowly cooked over hours. A warm broth, golden and clear, steeped with herbs grown in the castle gardens. Others are darker, baked with rye, barley and oats. A few are braided like ribbons, glazed in honey. The crust, and as the guests sip, there is nothing to hear but the low hum of approval and the gentle tapping of spoon The bowl is shallow. The spoon is heavy. There is bread too, not torn by hand, but sliced and warmed. Some loaves are soft and white, dusted with flour. With it comes butter smooth and pale, mixed with herbs, and soft cheeses, wrapped in waxed cloth and brought in from nearby abbeys. The table speaks through its flavors. It says, "You are welcome here. You are safe. Let the world outside wait." He pauses often, not out of hesitation, but to enjoy the rhythm of the meal. The king eats slowly, and the hall glows, not with gold or jewels, but with the warmth of the shared moment. But that is the point. The feast is not meant to feed hunger quickly. It is a gentle tide, rising slowly with each passing hour. Now, servants clear the bowls. Not rushed, not scattered. They lift each, with care, replacing them with empty trenchers of fresh bread. Some guests sip wine spiced with cloves and cinnamon, served warm in winter months. Others drink mead, golden and sweet, or a soft ale brewed within the castle walls. Music begins now, not loud. A lute, perhaps. A harp in the far corner. They do not demand attention. They simply exist, like the glow of a distant candle, steady and sure. You might not notice them, not at first. And so the guests begin to speak, but only in soft voices. There is laughter, but it is gentle. There are stories, but none too wild. There is presence, each person sitting, sipping. The world outside the walls may be cold, or busy, or loud. But here, in this hall of bread and light, the meal continues, and all is calm. The first course has passed, and the hall settles into its rhythm. The candles burn lower now, but brighter small halers of gold leaning toward the table. The servants move slowly, refilling goblets, replacing cloths, smoothing corners. The doors open once more. This is the heart of the feast. The room grows warmer, not just from the hearths, but from the contentment that blooms across the long wooden table. The air is filled with gentle scents, cloves, roasting garlic, the sweetness of apples warming in their skins. Now the meats arrive, not heaped, not messy, but arranged in quiet splendor. The dishes are varied. A spiced lamb roasted with mint and raisins. Trays of small birds, larks, doves, and quails stuffed with crushed nuts, each one nestled among dark syrupy prunes and swan. Yes, roasted whole, dressed again in its feathers, which shimmer in the candlelight. Not for eating, always. Sometimes it is for the eyes, for ceremony, and preserved, its body carefully roasted and placed back inside its own skin, glazed with saffron and scented with rosewater. One dish is a favorite among nobles. Peacock, its tail, fanned further down the table, nearer the servants and scribes and advisors, are platters of trout, gently poached in herbs, resting in a pool of white wine and cream. Eel pie, spiced cabbage and sweet onion stews served in ceramic bowls. A dish of lentils cooked with vinegar and cloves, subtle and filling. There is no sense of rush. Each dish is brought slowly, savored, then cleared. No one is hurried. The meal is not a moment. It is an evening. His voice is low, his pace unhurried. He eats not with gluttony, but with care. He understands the meaning of each dish. The king speaks only occasionally quiet words to his steward, a soft joke to the bishop nearby. It is language layered in spices and salt. It is celebration, tradition, and subtle power set on a polished board of oak. And still, the hall glows, Soft music drifts from the minstrels in the corner. A single flute, gentle and round-toned, weaves between the harp's golden threads. The sound feels like breath through silk. Beyond the windows, the world is dark now. The stars are just beginning to wake, pale and uncertain, behind clouds. Inside, the sound of contentment. Another course begins. This time, it is not like the pies, you know. These are creations folded with care, filled with layers. A pie of pork, sage. Another with custard, saffron, and dried currants. Its crust pinched like petals. A fish pie in white sauce, with trout, haddock, and tiny river crabs, covered in a lid of buttery pastry carved to look like leaves. The servants place each one in the center of the table, and slowly slice portions with silver knives. Steam rises as crusts are broken. The guests lean in not out of hunger, but out of curiosity. Each flavor is a secret being told. Each bite, a memory held in the tongue. And then, ... a pie is brought forth, decorated with tiny pastry birds. It is opened, and out flies a cloud of living blackbirds, released through a hidden lid. They fluttered toward the rafters, startled and silent. It is not meant to be eaten, a breathless, wordless moment of wonder. And then ... It is gone. The birds vanish into the beams. The hall returns to its stillness. Servants clear the plates again, goblets refilled. The meal shifts now toward sweetness. And you are full in spirit, not in stomach. You have watched this feast unfold like the turning of pages in an ancient book, and yet there is more still to come. The king smiles more now. He leans back slightly in his chair. One hand rests on the carved armrest. The other holds a goblet, not wine now, but a cordial made of berries, steeped with herbs. A drink meant to calm the belly, ease digestion, and soothe the mind. Served warm, strained through linen bags, filled with cinnamon sticks and dried ginger. It tastes like dusk, like a song you can only half remember. Conversation has faded again. Some guests speak softly, some listen. Others simply gaze at the candles as their flames dance in the stillness. Beyond the high-arched windows, the moon has risen. Its pale glow silvers the tops of the trees outside, though the forest itself sleeps. Inside, no one stirs. They are not frozen. They are content. And so begins the last ritual of the night. A simple word. It means to empty. It marks the closing of the feast, the clearing of the table, the soft return to silence. No trumpets, no clapping of hands. The servants begin to remove the platters, the trenchers, the pitchers. Gently, they do not rush. They make no noise. Each goblet is emptied and replaced. Each cloth is folded and gathered. And still, the hall remains lit though. The candles are burning lower now. Their light grows golden red, like embers. The musicians play a final tune. Soft. So soft it almost isn't there. Just the whisper of strings. A lullaby made of air. A servant passes with a silver bowl of rose water. Guests dip their fingers, then dry them on cloth. It is a cleansing of the hands. A parting. Sent to carry home. Others are offered candied fennel seeds and tiny lozenges of mint. To refresh the breath, they say. But really, it is to mark the return to the world. The king rises now. He does not speak. He simply nods. And slowly, he walks from the hall, leaving behind only the glow of the candles and the memory of the meal. The guests stand, one by one, in silence. Some embrace gently. Some simply look once more at the table, as if to carry the image away in their minds. The fire crackles low. The final goblet is lifted, the final crumb brushed from linen, and then the feast is done. The hall is quiet now. Only a few servants remain, moving slowly like shadows along the edge of the long table. They gather plates and fold linens, their hands gentle, their footsteps light. The candle flames flicker in their final hour, growing smaller, as if ready to sleep too. And somewhere deep in the palace, behind heavy carved doors, at his side, his hands have been washed in warm water, dried with soft linen. A cup of warm milk waits by his bed, side infused with nutmeg and a single clove. Not until tomorrow's light wakes the castle once more. But here, in the emptiness of the great hall, you can still feel it, the memory of the feast. Not the food itself, but the quiet ceremony of it. The rhythm, the warmth, the sense that, for one long evening, time paused, and people came together to eat, not just for need, but for joy. And this was not just one feast. It was one of thousands. Across centuries, across continents, each kingdom with its own rituals, each king with his own tastes. In France, under the long shadow of the Capetian kings, meals were rich and long filled with sauces made of wine and vinegar, layered in flavor and drawn out slowly, course by course. In England, under the Tudors, the food grew heavier, more extravagant, and sugared sweets, while musicians played and jesters wandered the room in masks of painted linen. In the courts of the Holy Roman Empire, the meals followed strict protocol. Dishes were served in patterns: white meat first, red meat later. All meant something. Always with bread, always with wine. The seating, the timing, the ingredients. And chickpeas, flavored with cumin and coriander, served on golden plates beneath mosaic ceilings. Even further east, in the palaces of Byzantium, the emperor dined on layered stews of lamb. The banquet was a sacred thing, there a reflection of the heavenly order, calm and unshaken. And far beyond the boundaries of Europe, kings and queens dined too, with equal grace and silence. In West Africa, in the kingdom of Mali, royal meals, elders spoke as they passed calabash cups filled with cool milk or honeyed drinks under the flicker of oil lamps and stars. In Japan, emperors tasted meals, arranged with seasonal precision: pickled radish in spring, salted fish in autumn served in tiny lacquer bowls, where nothing was wasted. Tender lamb and sweet confections, known as barfi, were served by hand on banana leaves. In India, the Mughal emperors ate in lush courtyards perfumed with jasmine, surrounded by musicians and soft fountains, while platters of biryani. Every culture feasting, not as indulgence, as a way to be together, as a way to be still. And through it all, the hum of kitchens. For in every palace, behind every feast, was the soft, slow rhythm of preparation. They sang in their own way, wood crackling, herbs being chopped, water bubbling, knives gliding through soft bread. There was comfort there, too. The royal cook, rising before dawn, lit a fire that might burn until the moon returned. He moved through routine, not rush. He knew how long it would take to roast a duck. He knew the way spices spoke to one another, He knew the shape of hunger and the softness of satisfaction. There were boys who plucked geese by hand, women who prepared almond paste, elders who ground seeds in smooth stone mortars until their arms ached. And in those spaces, stories were told, jokes were shared, bread was broken, even before the feast began. And now, centuries later, those meals are gone. But the feeling remains. When you close your eyes, you might still hear it. The clink of goblets, the distant tune of a harp, the low laughter of people long forgotten, sitting together beneath high ceilings and tall, flickering candles. And maybe, in some quiet way, we still gather like that, around family tables, on quiet holidays. Even in small ways, when we warm our hands around a bowl or pass a plate, something human, something older than memory. And now, with the feast behind us, with the candles melting low, we let the stories settle, like crumbs beneath cloth. We let the music fade, we let the fire turn to ember, and we rest. Now, the fire is low. Its last orange light flickers quietly against the old stone walls. The platters and bowls have returned to their shelves, stacked carefully, each with its own place. And yet, something lingers in the air. Not the food, but the feeling. It's nice that, for a moment in time, people gathered with care, not in haste, but in harmony, not for show, but for ritual. There is a kind of stillness that follows such moments, a hush, as though even the castle itself is exhaling. Outside, the stars are fully awake. They scatter across the sky like grains of salt spilled from the royal table, gleaming and distant. The moon has risen high now, her light stretching down through the tall windows, silvering the floor where the rushes once lay. And far below, in the servants' quarters, the last of the cooks has tucked away her apron. She sits beside a small hearth, a cup of warm wine in her hand, her eyes heavy with sleep, but her work was good. The king was pleased. The hall was full. The candles burned to the end. She lets her eyes close, and all is quiet. High above her, in the royal chambers, the king sleeps too. His bed is wide, the curtains drawn. A low fire crackles in the corner, but the logs are nearly gone now. He lies still beneath a heavy woolen blanket. His thoughts are soft. He remembers nothing of the speeches or the music, only the taste of warm pears, and the way the hall looked in candlelight. And the moment the blackbirds flew from the pie, he sleeps, and so does the castle, and so do you. Let your thoughts drift like steam from a warm bowl. Let your breath slow like the rhythm of footsteps on a long, quiet hallway. Let your mind soften like fresh bread is taken from the oven. There is no more to do. The feast is ended, and now you may rest. Let the old halls fade from view. Let the candles burn out. Let the gold dishes return to shadow. There is only peace here, and quiet, and time. May your dreams be soft, and your sleep be long, and may you wake, one day, to another kind of feast, not of kings or queens, but of sun and sky and all the small joys waiting for you. Sleep well.